Well, Kuwait Energy is perhaps surprisingly, considering the name, a private company, one of the handful of private companies in the Middle East, and the CEO of Kuwait Energy joins me now, Sara Akbar. You're involved at the moment in southern Iraq, elsewhere as well, but southern Iraq is particularly interesting, and that's what you've been talking about here at the Oil Council. Is it as challenging an area to do business as many people in the West might think?
Yeah. Well, challenging is a terminology that is normally used for lack of information and the inability to execute. Now, as far as we are concerned, we are a very native company in south of Iraq. Basically the field that we operate is 2 hours from my own office in Kuwait. So if I want to go to the field, I jump in my car, I drive 2 hours, I'm in the field. So challenges for us has different meaning, because we really face very little challenge in executing our program in the south of Iraq. We enjoy a tremendous relationship with South Oil Company, with all the contractors in the south, with ministry, and with all other ministries. We can solve our problems by just going and talking to them with the same language. So it's much easier for us to overcome the problems that we face sometimes in executing our program than others.
So tell us about your business in southern Iraq. How's it going?
It's going fantastically. I mean, we are a real happy company in the south of Iraq. We have 2 assets that we are currently developing. One of them is the Siba gas field, which will come on stream next year. We are drilling Siba 4, which is the second well on the structure. And we are building the pipelines, we are putting the facilities together, and things are smooth and nicely developing the field. The field has better characteristics than what we modeled initially when we acquired it, so it's a better field and it can provide more resource. Lately, the Iraqi government has asked us to do some extra work on an extension of the field into the Shatt al-Arab, and so this is an addition to the current structure, which will enhance as well the contract that we have with the government. We enjoy a very nice fee structure with this field. We get $7.50 per barrel. It's the highest in Iraq for any kind of field. So nothing to complain about in Siba. In the other field that we have just made a discovery. It's a fantastic discovery in Block 9, Fayha 1 well. And we announced this first target, Mishrif zone, which produced about 2,000 barrels on half choke. And currently we are in the Yamama, the deeper sweet reservoir, and it is even better than what we expected. We'll be testing that in the next 10 days.
So despite the fact that the current market conditions, the oil prices are looking weaker, you seem remarkably upbeat about the prospects for the sector, but also particularly for that part of the world.
But the contracts you have in Iraq have no oil price risk. The risk is borne by the government because we take your cost back and you take a service fee. So these are the most secure contracts that give you long-term cash flows without the oil price risk. So it's very nice to have something like that in your portfolio, and then you have something that have the risk, that you can have upside on the price as well. But in principle, these Iraqi contracts are really stable, and they provide a very nice stable cash flow outlook for any company.
Now, your business model, I mean, I mentioned before that you are a private company, and that's a bit of a rarity.
Yes.
And you've got good connections with government as well. So is your business model radically different from other of your competitors in the area?
Well, the only difference, I think, is embedded in our hearts more than in the business itself. And that is that when we invest in any project, it has to have a better meaning in life to invest in such project than just an investment. So, for example, when we went into Iraq, the main reason why we went to Iraq is that We believe that the private sector has a role to develop relationships between governments, especially between Kuwait and Iraq. So we took that initiative, we took the risk because we believe there is a bigger story in life to connect the countries through economically sound projects. Same thing with everything that we do in Yemen, we do in Egypt. It is to develop those relationships and to service the countries and the communities in the best way that an oil company should do. So that is embedded in the way we choose our projects and the way we develop our projects and develop our relationships. And it's a huge welcome in the region when oil companies are really participating in the development and in betterment of life for the people and for the countries.
What I find interesting about it is that in what is very much a man's world, dominated by male CEOs, we have a female CEO, moreover a female CEO of an Arab Middle Eastern company. And it's even more than that, I mean, your passion for the company comes from the fact that you were a field engineer, you actually did your training in this area and you got your hands dirty. That's quite unusual.
Yeah, it is unusual, but when I started, there were many female engineers in the company, but none of them was a field engineer. I insisted to become a field engineer because, in my opinion, being a female or a male, it doesn't matter for an engineer. They need to get their hands dirty before they sit on a chair in an office. So that's what I did for 10 years. I was a field engineer and I enjoyed every single moment of that experience. And that's actually what gave me that technical ability that I have today to work with Kuwait Energy, to even the thinking behind the company and what needs to be done in the company. So I think that kind of training is very important for women and for men in general. Now, when you are an engineer, you tend to forget your gender. It's not about your gender. It's about how your brain thinks and how do you solve problems and how innovative you are in bringing solutions to the table. And that is really immaterial if you are man or woman. And I believe, so since then, actually, we have many, many female engineers in the field in Kuwait. And I think it's a fabulous model it shouldn't be restricted for men or women, and should forget about the gender, especially when it comes to technical and professional ability.
Right, so where next for Kuwait Energy?
Currently, we are focusing all our attention in developing our Siba field. Currently the company produces about 27,000 barrels a day, mainly from Egypt, Yemen, and Oman. Our next development is the Siba gas, which will come on stream next year. So a lot of attention, because this is the first mega project that we are executing on our own. And then after that, I think, like I told you, this magnificent discovery that we have in the south that will actually consume a lot of our capital, a lot of our manpower in the development. It's a true mega field, and it will consume a lot of our energy. So focusing our attention on those two things actually is what we will do over the next 5 years.
And I'm sure that you'll be getting in your car and driving down to make sure that everything is going the way that you want it as well.
Yeah, of course.
Sara Akbar, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.